How's it going, everybody? And today we are talking about Lord of the Visions. Lord of the Visions! That is me! Consider me Loative. But War of the Visions, simply because I feel like a lot is going on from what I've read on Reddit, Discords, and such, and everybody is a little bit upset. So, my attire is that of a business one because some of you may or may not know, I do have experience in running businesses that do make money. And I feel like in my last video, I gave it a bit of a pass in terms of what is missed. Because I felt like, well, maybe I was just a one-off. So I really focused on the positives, as most people did. Now, I want this to go out to Gumi more than anything else. So this is an advice to the players. This is a business-to-business advice. And I understand certain business decisions. I can take that very, separate yourself from the content and do things in a way that will drive profit. And I get that. So, of course, when you think of things like not downsizing, but streamlining things, like creating a singular version that is closer to the other one, it kind of, you're basically getting one person to do more jobs, and or vice versa. That one person, instead of doing two jobs, now maybe has a smaller team. Instead of like two big teams, you have one leader and a smaller team. And that helps in some cases as people get better at their jobs, stronger at what they do. They build habits and such like that. So, they can now do more effectively sometimes. Okay, this is not like 100%, but sometimes this is the case. But it also means that if you lose heads, or if you lose departments, or if you lose more eyes that do quality control prior to launching, then you have things that just happened to us previously. So you have a huge patch that comes in with a collab, and now you are maybe over juggling and potentially going to miss things. And I don't want to go over it in depth, but we don't have guild purchases for shards. A lot of usually in a big drop like this, especially when you have a version upgrade or even like a Final Fantasy V celebration, whatever, there's next to nothing here. Visual pack F and H, those are big things that folks are looking out for, I know from what I've seen. And again, here you don't get it. I understand that in the challenge boards, okay, you do get an extra 40 shards after you get the shards in the center, but you're still losing 70 shards overall, just because this used to be 40 in some places, and then this was like 20 and 20 depending on who you're going for. And to kind of compare a 100 to a 90 cost, where the 100 already has so much popularity, it seems a bit of a miss. And a lot of folks are upset about it. Now, I understand the merging. Again, it makes sense. But what I don't understand is missing the mark on listening to your demographic. You have folks here who speak for hordes of people sometimes, and not like completely, but they have followings, and they are capable of being able to tell you a good idea of what the people want. And for the most part, the game has listened to its community rather well. So most are chalking this up to a mistake, because this seems like the Japanese model of doing things. And again, the global spender and the Japanese spender are nowhere near alike. You're talking about opposite demographics who have been raised a certain way, and therefore when they play gacha games, they have habits that just do not correlate, from how they use their characters and to how they spend, of course. And it would make a lot of sense that this has an immediate turnover. Now, obviously, you cannot reroll, and I sincerely hope that the tickets that came in are just not like a buffer to, kind of appease us You know, I would like to think that this was just a part of what we're supposed to get. The shards are just a part of what we're supposed to get. The update 28, again, also just things that, you know, where the select tickets, update 28s are just, these are all things that we're supposed to get, opposed to like a here's some shut up money almost. And I'm not saying that anybody is doing that, but I do know that from time to time companies will do that. You know, they will give something out to kind of mask something else. So, you know, you're trying to drive a huge positive to kind of like buffer out the big negative that's kind of coming in real hot there. And I'm telling you, that is not the way to go, because folks, it's 2023 and I've gone through 7 gachas that are all very top tier, and we have many more coming in. We have Snowbreak coming in tomorrow. We will have a Bleach game that is on, I promise you, very good. And even if somebody's not going to be a lifer in it, they will definitely enjoy it for all of its characters because it's sick. And I know that from first-hand experience. And if the alpha looks like that, I don't even know what the rest of the game is going to look like. So games that are well done are just not rare anymore. And that sounds so weird to say, but gacha games are feeling like mini console games that can pretty much outperform, let's say, Nintendo Switch, which is like the bottom end of all the consoles, right? So people are not going to have an issue finding another game to jump onto because they listen and they've learned from others' mistakes. They improve quickly. They give big drops. They've created big names for themselves. And as a person who has to manage a business and has to understand the consumer mindset, you really need to, you know, figure out, okay, what are our next steps here? And one of them, as tricky as it can be, doesn't necessarily mean, oh, like, you know, admitting that like we tried something and we did wrong, but acknowledging what people are saying. And that is generally 80% of the first bit of customer service, is just to let the consumer know, or the clients or customers know, that, hey, I hear you, and this is either a mistake, to a new direction that we're trying out, but rhyme to reason is all I'm saying. You know, because everybody seems to understand that there was supposed to be an easing into this, but it does feel very quick, very fast, and very out of character for the global player, right? So let's keep that in mind. The global player has had an expectation set for them for many years, you know? And I've gone from a sales model into a full price model. And that does not happen in a day. That happens over a year, because you need to condition your customers to really understand that, oh, we are no longer doing this right now. So there needs to be communication of like, oh, I know you loved your Visual Pack F and H, but unfortunately we're no longer working towards that. And then maybe instead of the F and H, you do half of what that used to be at the same type of value, because you don't want to, you know, go sale heavy anymore. Again, that goes into communication, that goes into understanding the global mindset and the global consumer, and knowing like what makes you money. And I know you have a simple 1-2 click system that says how many people bought this, and you can compare that to the you know, average of who logs in daily, and get a really good conversion percentage of saying that like, oh, 50%, and if it's 50%, that's crazy conversion. But if 50% of your consumer is purchasing this, it means you're doing something pretty good, obviously. But it also means that they're still driven. So meaning that if that is your high ticket item and they're purchasing that more than anything else, it means that they're willing to wait and get what makes sense for them. And that's still money making, as long as, you know, things are happening. And based off of the Sensor Tower, it seems like War of the Visions is doing all right as a business. Anyway, going back to it, I think, again, you know, when you're raw dogging this kind of system, ideally it's a mistake, and hopefully it is, because most of us are hoping that this is an oops, oh my gosh, we somehow coded the Japanese version into the global version. But really, you just but really, that should be the issue. I think that's what we want. Ideally, that's what we would want to hear. But as a person who's like, you know, would like to provide advice to like next steps, if this is permanent, which is fine, then you gotta ease into it. And I think this is where we, you know, where Gumi missed the mark. And maybe it's just because there was a lot going on, or maybe there was a string of terminations. So this used to be someone else's job, but oops, we terminated them because we had to downsize that department. I don't know, because either a lot of people are suddenly wearing a lot of hats, or there's a bunch of new people coming in because now we have more money. You know, this one person no longer has to do 2 jobs, which is obviously not the case. It's usually the downsizing when we talk about streamlining things. You know, one person gets good at 2 things and they're capable of doing that. Anyway, that's kind of it for me. I look forward to seeing what happens next. I'm very curious, because I think a lot of people have said a lot of things about this already. And really, I'm just speaking about this through the lens of somebody who's had to, again, do what it looks like Gumi is doing, which is like, you know, driving full price things. So because I know that Japanese folks just go straight for like the visual packs most of the times, they don't need extra incentives. But that's a different culture, literally also on the opposite side of the world for some of us, whereas the other folks are sale driven. And I know North American business is very sale driven. So if the global community is primarily within, like, you know, North America, and let's just say, you know, whatever, just say North America, you will have a lot of blowback, which I'm seeing. You know, I don't need to know where they're from. I know they're a global player, and I know that their shopping habits are not too different than how they play, you know, and what they're looking for, which is a deal, which is fair to ask. So if you're gonna remove all the deals, just let us know. Just like, hey, this is a new direction we're taking, opposed to saying that like, hey, we're gonna ease you in, except there's gonna be no lube, and actually we're going 1,000 miles per hour. You know, like, let's just it's a culture shock. But I think when I think about what has been done, this is what comes to my mind. And my bit of advice, again, communication. Because if we can draft up a producer's letter that's that long, we can definitely say, hey, there's going to be less sales. Please do not be worried. But like, that's what we need to do. Maybe whatever reason. You don't have to explain yourself, but you do need to say that. Or else this just looks like a mess. And everybody's confused. And nobody knows what's going on. So that's it. Hopefully, y'all don't go crazy and think I'm insane for saying a lot of these things. But these are what I'm seeing has happened in real life many times, over and over and over again. And the same response is happening at this moment. So I thought I would just share my expertise in at least this portion where it's like very business end. And I'm not saying it's the right thing that Gumi's doing, by the way. I'm no happier about it than anybody else is, but I would like to just make sure that it is very clear that there is rhyme to reason. When we might not be told it, you know, and ideally it's just a mistake. But if it's not, and if it's a business decision, like an active business decision, we have a couple misses here. And generally when this happens, somebody says that this is what's being done, and for us to no longer expect it moving forward, because you will see that a lot when you go shop, but we're not seeing this here. Anyway, that's it. If you've watched until this point, please like and subscribe. I will give some more business analytics on what happens, I feel like, because when it comes to things like these, I'm not saying I have the perfect grasp, but it makes a lot of sense to me and why things happen the way that they do. But yeah, that's it. Basically, we got hit with a gift with purchase, and it's a freebie that doesn't affect their bottom line, which is those tickets, which again, I will gladly summon and maybe do a separate video for the remaining 400 tickets that I do have. But you know, let's see what happens. Nobody freak out. Nobody panic yet. Don't panic. Okay, and I will catch y'all later. Have a good night.